You maxed your 401k, you contributed to your HSA, and you even had extra withheld from your paycheck, and you still owe the IRS thousands of dollars? Yeah, that's not just frustrated, it's a trap. Let me show you why this keeps happening. In this video, I'm going to break down why high income W 2 earners like physicians, dentists, pharmacists, and other professionals keep owing thousands in taxes, even when you're maxing out your retirement and withholding extra. I'll show you what's actually happening behind the scenes and why it's costing you more than you think. So here's what's going on. If you're a high income W 2 earner, your paycheck gets taxed at the highest possible rate, and you have very few legal ways to reduce your taxable income. Even if you max out your 401k, maybe $22,500 a year, that's just a small slice of your income that gets sheltered. So, say you make $250K a year, you're still being taxed on over $225,000. That is a lot of exposed income. Let me show you an example. Say you and your partner, you're bringing in a combined 300K per year. You both max out your 401ks, maybe you add 7,000 to your HSA, even have extra withheld from your paycheck, but then when tax season rolls around, you still owe maybe 15K, maybe 20K. Why? Because nothing you did actually helped reduce your taxable income in a meaningful way. Meanwhile, the tax code, it is filled with benefits for business owners and investors. They get to write off all sorts of things like travel, home office, business meals, mileage. And one of the biggest that they get to write off is depreciation on assets like real estate investments. Now, depreciation is a paper loss. You're not actually losing money, but the IRS lets you claim it like you are. So, if you own an investment property that depreciates by $25,000 that year, you can subtract that against your income. And it gets even better with bonus depreciation, where you might be able to write off 50,000 or more in 1 year. But here's the part that no one tells you about. You don't have to be a full-time landlord. You don't need a big portfolio. You don't even need a property manager. Some of my clients have just one property, and because they meet material participation guidelines, according to the IRS, they can use those losses against their W 2 income. I remember looking at our numbers 1 year and thinking, how am I making six figures and still feeling so broke? I followed the rules. I worked more. I picked up extra shifts. I saved. I contributed. And then I realized the rules I was following were made for someone else. They were made for employees to stay employees. But when I started learning about real estate investors and business owners, when I started learning about what they were doing, everything changed. I got curious. I got help. I got educated, and I started using the same tools they use even while working full time. One of my clients, she and her husband are both pharmacists. They're making a really good income. They maxed out their 401k. They contributed to their HSA and even had extra withheld. They claimed zero on their paychecks to avoid a surprise. They thought they were doing everything right. But year after year, they still owed a huge tax bill. Well, we helped them to acquire just one property and set it up the right way using the strategy that I teach. And that year, their tax bill was zero, zero, all while keeping their full-time jobs and only spending a few hours a week on this strategy. Another client, she was actually a single physician. She didn't think she had the time to manage anything outside of work. We walked her through a simple step by step process using one short term rental that's kind of like an Airbnb, that one property. When we set it up in the right way, within months, she had $70,000 in depreciation losses to apply to her W 2 income. She kept her job, but now she gets to keep more of what she earns. Now, I know what you might be thinking, why hasn't my CPA told me this? The truth is, a lot of CPAs aren't tax strategists, they're tax filers. They plug in numbers, they look at what happened last year, and they try to get it submitted on time on your behalf. But the strategic planning, that's a completely different skill set. It's looking forward and actively helping you make smarter moves now to lower next year's tax bill. So, no, you're not crazy. You're not behind. You just haven't been shown this before. Now that you understand why high income professionals like you keep getting stuck, let me show you exactly how they're getting unstuck. Instead of picking up more shifts just to cover your tax bill, I've got the strategy that's going to help you keep more of the money you already earn, and that's this video.